Hello, unstoppable real estate investors. Rayana Starr, your hostess, and it's a PJ podcast. I'm going to admit it. I'm in my pajamas. There you have it. Okay, so I have a really like Dave. Dave,
Dave, hello.
RJ is RJ your nickname?
No, RJ's my business partner, and
Okay, okay,
I'm just logged into his Zoom account today. I'm
okay, cool.
Dave, though. Yeah.
So Dave is the ideal guest for my podcast, The Unstoppable Real Estate Investors Secrets of the Top 5%. 95% of people who attempt to be real estate investors fail. Only 5% actually make it and become extremely successful. Dave and his partner are an example of that. He's done, let's see, he began his investing career in 2005. He's purchased, renovated, and sold over 1,000 properties for profit. He currently owns and manages over 400 properties. He's raised over $100 million from banks and private parties. Impressive. Currently manages a team of 12. He founded and currently, and the list goes on and on and on. It's one of the most impressive bios that we've ever received, and thank you for sending that to us. So you guys can look in the promo post that my VA Rose has put out before this, like the list goes on, and you're going to be hearing that story. So this is someone you guys want to take notes. You want to hear what he has to offer. If he can do it, you can do it. He's been at this for 19 years. You think someone who's done something for 19 years has mastered it? Absolutely. And he's done it all. So welcome so much, Dave, and he's done a lot of podcasts. So thank you. I'm honored and flattered that my humble little podcast is worthy of your time. And I want to just thank you for joining us. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we have some mutual friends. So when I got the opportunity to come on, I enjoy doing this, and I especially enjoy working with people who are a bit newer. And you were kind of upfront about that because we all got to start somewhere. And I coach other people like who are new. So I'm
Yes, so
very
do I.
familiar.
So we should talk about that. Maybe look
Sure.
at that. But
But today it's all about your audience
no,
here. And
there'll be a chance for you to plug and pitch and promote. I don't mind that.
no worries at all. I was just making the point. I do work with people all the time, on all different levels. So I'm grateful to be here, and I'm happy to help in any way I possibly can.
Love it. Thank you for your generosity. So where I'd like to start with you, Dave, and guys, get your notepads out and start taking notes or ask questions in the chat, please. Hi, Ken and Rula. Thanks for joining us. You feel free in the Zoom chat, guys, if you want to ask any questions, and we'll manage that. Or I'd prefer it, Rula and Ken, if you can see us live in Facebook, maybe putting your comments or questions in there, so the people that are with us live in the Facebook group can also see what you're asking. But either way, whatever's easier. So where I want to start, Dave, is you got into real estate in 2005. Pre-2005, tell us a little bit about who you were, Dave, before you got into real estate investing.
Absolutely. So, born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was voted class clown in my high school class. I graduated high school in the year 2000. And I just never really took school seriously, and it wasn't in the cards for me to go to college or anything like that. So I got the opportunity to move out to Phoenix, Arizona when I was 18. And I was going to work on a roofing and construction crew out there because they were building a ton of houses and doing stuff like that. And I just wanted to get out of Ohio, and I wanted to get out of the house, and I was ready to just spread my wings as soon as I had graduated high school. So I moved out to Arizona, and I was working construction jobs during the day, and I wanted to make more money. and really thrive the best I possibly could. So I got a sales job for the evenings, and I was doing telemarketing for an old telecommunications company. And then I realized when I was young at 19, I could make more money doing sales than I do doing the
Swinging a
construction.
hammer, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I got really into sales, and I started to go to bookstores and things like that to try to find books on how to improve as a salesperson. And if you've ever been to a bookstore, which I know you have, you know that right in the same section of sales, there is the real estate and investing and how to get rich in real estate and things like that. So I started to find my way to those types of books. And then in the year, I believe 2004, I left my sales job. I had a $14,000 saved up. I bought a list of, I think, absentee owners, and I started my first direct mail campaign. And I started driving around neighborhoods and finding boarded up junkers. I was doing this back in 04, 05. Um, and that's how I got started. So I just basically started wholesaling junkers, and that was the beginning. My very first year in business by myself, as at that age, I think I'm 23. I made $180,000 from wholesaling properties my first fiscal 12 months of doing it, and I had zero financial literacy. So I just took all that money and blew it. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I was still a kid, really.
All right, let me pause right
Yeah.
there. Okay. Disclaimer. Results are personal to, like the little disclaimer they do on products sometimes. These may not be the normal results for everyone. Everyone is different depending on how they apply themselves. Most real estate investors don't make money in their first year. You got to really persevere. There's a whole learning curve. It might take a while. He was very driven. He did a bunch of self-education beforehand. He had sales skills, all of that. It's amazing, and that's extraordinary that you did 180K in your very first year. There are a lot of people that I say, look, treat it like you're investing in college and allow for a learning curve and easing into it. I've had podcast guests just like last week where he didn't make money, and it was 18 months before he made his first deal, but he's this multimillionaire now. So congratulations, that's extraordinary. You must be a very driven person, are you?
I'm very driven, but I think, you're right. It's going to take perseverance, and that's just, even once you're into the game, there's a lot of no's that need to happen daily. Our business right now, not to, flex on it or something like that, but just to show you how far we've come, we bring in 6 figures a month now. It's very normal in our current business of flipping properties. In fact, it's a bad month if we don't hit 6 figures at least, so it's very possible, but like anything worth attaining, perseverance is part of the character trait that we're going to need to build here. And that's why we stick together. We're on these podcasts, we're in these groups so we can hold each other accountable and just support each other. Because there's a lot of we're going to get a lot of doors slammed in our faces.
Well, and also, Ken says, awesome statement. Thanks, Ken. I think something else here, like you're at a point, if you're making 6 figures a month, where you're paying it forward. You're not really doing it because you need the money anymore. Now it's just more about it's great. You can do more, you're making more money, but in those early days, it was about figuring it out, making money, building an empire. But now the empire's built. What's the priority and your purpose now?
I have a family. I have 2 baby twins at home, and we're going big on a big national level and big national scale. We're scaling our.
Why?
What's
It's
that?
not about the money. There's something else. What's the why that's driving all that?
I believe personally, if we're breathing, we should be creating progress and just being creative. I believe this is our natural evolution. I just could not imagine myself not pushing.
Hosting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do. In fact, I'm at a place now. I like to, check out a little bit. Like we all need our time to check out, right? But the majority of my time is spent thinking about ways to grow, ways to scale, ways to improve. And I think what your audience will get from this particular talk is I am completely open and upfront of exactly how we're making money. I'm going to give it all. We live in an abundant universe. So I'm just going to continue to grow, continue to thrive. And I want all of us. There's no shortage. There's no like lack, right? So it's onward and upward. And we're definitely going into multiple states right now, a lot of virtual wholesaling. We're doing a lot of novations. Why not? I mean, why not? If you could be more, should you be more? I believe the answer is yes. I believe we're all capable of so much. We just need to be around the right people, take the right actions, and just continue to thrive.
I love it.
Let's
You're
go.
building a legacy, you're paying it forward, you're bringing others along for the ride. And it's more about growth mindset and how do I keep raising the bar? How do I keep up leveling? How do I keep being the best version of myself? So what drives you is just the challenge and your motivator is just purely growth personally and professionally.
Yeah, straight up. I mean, I just believe if we're here for a very small amount of time on this planet. I think we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So I just want to thrive is reach whatever level I possibly can. I don't want any regrets. I think there would be regret if I didn't continue to challenge myself on a day-to-day basis.
There's something there that I want to highlight for people. I'm just going to go off on a tiny little tangent to put context around it. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, and we're seeing your chest now, Dave.
Yep, I know. I'm just fixing up my camera here.
You're doing the standing. I study human design, and it's a fascinating system for helping people do a deep assessment and really understand your genetic blueprint and how you're hardwired to operate so you can reduce resistance, be happier, more successful, healthier, and have better relationships and just to operate with less resistance in life. And I've been studying this for years. And something that's fascinating about that system is how the material aspects of survival, food, water, shelter, taking care of the tribe, raising the young, protecting and nurturing them, is directly tied to your spirituality and connection with spirit, because you can't, and so many people in that world separate the two. Oh, it's not spiritual to focus on money and I've got to give it all away and blah, blah, blah. And that's bullshit. Because if you're going to be spiritual, you have to learn how to function in this physical world, and your material needs need to be met first. And then you have the capacity for more intimate connections with others. And now you have the capacity for letting spirit operate in your life. So here you are, very accomplished, multi-millionaire, making $1 million, 6 figures, $1 million every month. It isn't about the money. It's not about the material success anymore. It's more about your spiritual evolution and the impact you can have on the world. So that material aspect, it is the foundation in which you can have a mystical experience or a spiritual connection that has integrity. It's not, you can't really be spiritual unless those base level needs of survival, security, belonging are handled first. Those are the springboard. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, just it's our birthright to live in abundance. There's no lack, like I think everyone should 100% know what they really are. Everything is non-physical before it's physical, right? And I just don't limit yourself. I think a lot of us have these limiting beliefs. It's not our fault, it's just we're programmed and conditioned by adults when we're little to think that, here's what you deserve. And as soon as we start to, improve our own self-worth, um, the standards get raised naturally. Our standards will raise naturally when we work on ourselves. I mean, picture if you were, a cave woman and I'm a caveman and we're around the fire and, it was a million years ago, would we be sitting around the fire saying, I don't want the biggest cut of meat. I'm happy with just the smallest cut of meat. I'm happy with the smallest blanket. No, there's never would act like that.
I
We
would
want the
like
best.
less, not
So
more,
why
right?
are we that way now? And the reason is because we believe that we don't deserve. We believe
Well, it's
we
the
can
conditioning and the
correct.
programming. I'm an NLP practitioner certified. In fact, today I'm about to start my training into master practitioner coaching. And it's all about that. It's helping people wash away almost effortlessly all that programming and conditioning that just brainwashes us into believing that we don't deserve. That's a bunch of bullshit. If
Right.
you look at if you look at how the whole universe operates and you look at that the universe is it's infinite. That's abundance. You can't even count all the stars in the sky. You couldn't even count all the blades of grass in your front yard. If you're in Arizona, maybe you have gravel. You can't count all the rocks, all the gravel. You can't even count all the hairs on your head. They are finite, but it would be difficult to count every single hair on your head. If you look at the way all around you, leaves on a tree, trees in a forest, everything is abundance. Life is abundance.
Yeah, it really is. So that's really I kind of operate from that place. And real estate's just, part of the journey.
Yeah. So moving on from the metaphysical, so you got in, you did 180K your first year. You was it all wholesaling or did you do any fix and flips or was it all wholesale?
Mostly all wholesale. Yeah, it was all wholesaling, and then I just ended up like, being a young person with no financial literacy, lost it all. Basically, the great financial crisis happened in 07, 08. I basically went belly up and went back to waiting tables at that point. Didn't give up. Stayed around the real estate circles, worked on some short sales and stuff at that time.
There's perseverance, tenacity, and
You
resilience.
got to. You got to.
Most successful people like you have lost everything and bounced back, lost everything and bounced back. That's your character. How many of you watching can say that? How many of you have been too fearful to just risk, so nice job. So how did you recover? How did you and you did what you had to do. You waited tables, you did what you had to do to survive, but you didn't give up on the dream. Talk a little more about what that was like during those years, your mindset, how you had to manage it, what you were doing. That I think that piece it's worth delving into a little bit because that's what inspires people. They see it makes it more real for them. So talk about the struggle a little bit.
I think the biggest thing that we struggle with as people, and definitely I struggled with a lot, is it's not like the loss. It's not, the fact that we made mistakes. It's not the fact that, we lost money or something like that, because we could always make more money. We know that. It didn't cause any physical damage or harm to me. The biggest thing that prevents people from like restarting, it's their fear of looking stupid, and it's embarrassing. And that's how I felt. So there was just a lot of embarrassment. And then that's the thing to persevere through, is persevere through realizing that the people that you're trying to not look stupid in front of, actually don't care about you. They don't care about you at
Yeah,
all.
everybody else is the
Yeah,
center of their own universe. You're not
correct.
that
Yeah,
important. Right.
right. So during those years, I was very embarrassed, but that was just doing what I needed to do and started back into real estate in 2012. So I moved from Arizona to Ohio.
So there was a 4 or 5 year period where you were licking your wounds and just
Yeah,
surviving and
yeah,
managing the mindset and planning the comeback.
yeah, yeah.
Right
And,
on.
and what I realized is at that time is like I wanted to start buying and holding cash flow assets because I had done a lot of flipping and stuff like that. And a lot of flipping is really derived by like a hot market. When rates are low, everybody's a flipper, and that's kind of how I started. But I wanted to own assets. I wanted to own cash flow properties. So I basically, put my tail between my legs and came on back to Ohio, where I'm from originally, and then I started buying rental properties in 2012.
Yeah, buying rental properties in Cleveland, Ohio, like,
Actually, Columbus. I'm
oh,
in Columbus.
Columbus. Well,
Yeah.
Columbus and Cleveland. I mean, over the last couple of years with clients that I've coached and stuff, man, there's a little secret gold mine treasure chest there for rentals. So is most of your portfolio the portfolio 400? Um, is a lot of it in Columbus and Cleveland
It
and
is. It's all
Arizona?
over the state of Ohio, but mostly in Columbus.
Okay. And you were in Arizona for a while. Do you have any investments anywhere else?
No, I don't. Any investments that
Okay.
I had when I was first getting started out in Arizona, I actually ended up losing all that stuff
Okay.
when I went belly up.
All right. And what would you say, besides the market crash and recovering from that, what would you say has been the biggest, I don't know, um, mistake or challenge or struggle that you learned that wasn't a result of something you didn't have control over? Like, you started to get in there, you started to make a shift from wholesaling and starting to do other things. But wait, I'll ask that question after this. You were doing wholesaling the first year, the market crashed, you took you 4 or 5 years to kind of get back into the market. You and the rest of the world. Um, when you got back into it, did you start with wholesaling again? And how and when did you start to make the shift out of wholesaling into maybe fix and flips, burrs, like that? Talk about the evolution of your journey.
Right. So if you are doing like a scaled real estate business, if you're buying and holding assets, it's a very get rich slow type of program. So I believe, and what we continue to do is you should always be wholesaling. You should always be monetizing any type of deal that crosses your plate. When you're out there doing lead generation and you're bringing in leads, you should be monetizing it, not be like a one trick pony. Like I'm a buy and hold person now, so I'm not going to wholesale. It's like, that's
Well, and
terrible.
wholesale keeps your fundamental
You got
skills
to
sharp.
100%.
Wholesaling, you know how to hunt for your own food, you know how to determine what food you like to eat, you know how to analyze deals. It keeps you um fresh and mastering the basics of the business so you don't get complacent. Don't you agree?
It keeps the cash coming in, and that's
Mhm.
that's what we need. It keeps the oxygen fueling the business. And when you have a team and you have overhead, and you have an office, and you're like have a full scaled real estate business, those hits of cash are essential.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, what really there was never like a moment for me where it's like, oh well, now I'm a buy and hold person. It's always we're always wholesaling. There's
Okay,
always
so you
some
evolved from wholesaling. You bounced back in 2012. Talk about that evolution of you got back into wholesaling. When did you start realizing, oh, I want to investigate other exit strategies.
Yeah, I think I knew from the, the losses and that I took that like I just wanted to own cash flow properties. I knew that's like where I think we all kind of know that on some level. Um, and what I believe is the most scalable form of real estate that we all should be doing and that I'm doing today is the foundation of our business should be wholesaling. Because I think we should open up the floodgates to lead generation, bring in as many leads as we possibly can, monetize the vast majority of these through wholesaling, and we do novations to basically generate as much cash as we possibly can, and then anything that it fits our like geographical area and it fits like the metrics of our buy box, then we're just going to cherry pick buy and hold properties. This is the way to be successful as a real estate business, as a real estate investor. So we're for every 20 properties we wholesale, we only buy and hold one because we're very picky with the buy and holds that we do. So yeah, we're constantly generating leads, monetizing these leads without having to do construction because construction is going to slow you down. So I believe from my own experience and what we're doing here is we just want to keep the cash coming in from easy wholesale deals and novations, and then cherry pick buy and hold properties for the portfolio as they come across from your lead generation sources.
I love that. I
That's
love
it.
that. I
That's
love
the
what
business.
you're saying. And I'm adding little comments that wholesaling isn't for beginners. It's not something you do and then you evolve into other things. It's a layer, it's the
Oh yeah.
foundation. And the other thing that I like about that, Dave, is when you're wholesaling, basically you're mastering the fundamentals of the business, how to research a market, how to analyze deals, how to structure a deal, how to make offers, how to dispo a property. And it's now feeding the other parts of the business because, oh, we're going to keep this one. Oh, you know how to hunt
Yeah.
for your food. You never go hungry, and it keeps you humble and it keeps your finger on the pulse of the market. But also your wholesale business can feed everything else. If you know how to look for opportunities, you can then determine, oh, we want to do a buy and hold on this. We want to do a burr on this. This is going to be a short term. This is going to be a long term. What do you want to, anything you want to add about that specifically?
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'm actually going to record this too. Oh yeah. Can I?
I can send you the
Oh, send me
recording.
the recording for
Yeah,
sure.
we automatically do.
I'm on,
Rose,
as you
my
know,
VA Rose will send you the
I'm
recording.
on RJ's account, so I just noticed. I said, "Oh, I could record it too." So here's the bottom line. Like you're saying, is exactly right. You get to practice the fundamentals of real estate when you're wholesaling without the risk, and you keep the cash coming in, which is essential. Um, although that's pretty much the business 101. I don't know how to have a full scale real estate business without doing flips and wholesales. It's just absolutely essential. And when you have a vast lead generation machine, which we do, cranked up, it is your job as the investor slash entrepreneur to monetize as many of these leads as you possibly can. But the vast majority of these leads are not going to fit your buying criteria for a buy and hold. So what are you supposed to do with them? Just throw them away? The answer is no. You've got to monetize these, and that's exactly what we do.
So talk a little bit now as you evolved and you started to do buy and holds, burrs, fix and flips, and kind of the learning curve on that.
Yeah. I mean, property management is a beast. Construction is an even bigger beast. I believe construction poses the most risk to us as real estate
Absolutely.
investors. The hardest thing to scale in any real estate business is the construction. I don't suggest, even to this day, we don't take on major rehabs because it'll slow you down. It ties up the most amount of capital. They're very capital intensive and time intensive. So we don't go after any of these properties that are like these old, 1900s, because we're in Ohio. We got a lot of old buildings, stuff like that. Those look the best on social media. They look the nicest with a before and after. Everybody loves a transformation on HGTV, but as a full scale real estate business, we don't want
It's the
anything to.
highest risk and the most work.
Yeah, no, absolutely, it's the worst thing you possibly could do. So my advice from my previous experience is stay away from the big rehabs. Um, when you get the
Stick
leads,
with stick with the medium range, the traditional, replace the kitchen and the bathrooms, paint, don't do any, stay away from the monsters. But
yeah,
even then, you can people think fix and flips are where it's at because it's where the transformation happens. And they think they make more money with fix and flips. But the risk is more so than in any other part of the business, you have the highest risk of actually losing money.
yeah, 100%.
And whereas wholesaling, let's just say you're in an area where at minimum, and not all areas do this, let's just say on average you're making 10K for a wholesale fee. And you get good at that process and you're closing several wholesales a month and you're doing that month in and month out. It's like that deal's done in a month and you've cashed in on it and you've moved on. In a rehab, it's tying you up for months at a time.
Yeah, and it's risky. I mean, a contractor can put a lien on your property, so we stay away from big rehabs. My advice to your audience and anyone investing in real estate is avoid the big rehabs, monetize every single lead that crosses your plate, and then cherry pick the best fundamental properties for your buy box for buy and hold. It's easier to build an empire one property at a time. Everybody wants to look cool and scale as fast as they possibly can, but that poses the most risk in work also. Um, and stick.
I freaking love you are the first person in 2 years of doing this podcast who's ever said that. Like, there it is, folks. Rehabbing is not where it's at.
No,
The
no.
hardest, highest risk part of the business. And there are so many other ways to make money: wholesaling, rentals, short-term rentals, arbitraging short-term rentals, long-term rentals. But there's also all the lending aspects. There's creative finance too, but there's being a transactional lender. There's carrying notes. Talk about all the ways you make money with real estate right now,
Very
Dave.
simple. Yep. So all of our flips, the vast majority of our flips are just wholesaling and novations. The buy and holds are affordable housing. We have our buying criteria. And then when it comes to like creative financing, occasionally we'll find one that makes a good subject to deal. They're few and far between, to be completely upfront with you. And that just falls into the buy and hold category because we would only do a subject to deal that we wanted to buy and hold. Other than that, if it didn't fit the buy and hold criteria, we're going to sell it and just treat it like a flip. So I know there's a lot of different ways to make money. You're talking, transactional funding. We do some lending deals with our own students and stuff like that. We lend money and do that. I would, if I was, if I'm talking to your audience, I would just say, keep it simple. Your flipping machine over here should just
keep it simple. Keep it super simple.
Keep it
Absolutely.
simple. Just do flipping. The flipping business should just be wholesaling and novations. This way, you have the least amount of risk, and you can monetize. I mean,
Talk about novations for people because
sure.
There's a lot of creative financing. Most people I think understand subject to. You're buying a property subject to the existing financing, or seller financing. The seller's willing to basically carry the mortgage and you're paying them, and that's for a term and eventually pay them off. Talk about novations, because that's one that I don't think a lot of people understand.
Sure, absolutely, and I will kind of give this caveat because I work with and I know a lot of new people. It's easy to get distracted and bogged down a little bit by creative finance. It sounds cool. It sounds like interesting. Subject to seller carry and the notes, and I'm gonna buy discounted note. It's all this like stuff. I'm here to let you know if that's your primary aim, if that's your main focus, you might do a couple deals a year. I mean, that's it. Like, don't get bogged down with this whole creative finance. That's a tool in the tool belt. The primary aim, the main business should be wholesaling innovations to keep cash coming in 6 figures a month consistently while you cherry pick rentals for your portfolio. So I think a lot of people know what wholesaling is. That's where we're controlling a property with a contract and we're putting it out to a cash buyer, marking it up. Cash buyer comes in, closes, seller gets their cash, we get the markup. A novation is essentially nothing more than wholesaling on the MLS. We control the property with a contract. We get the seller's permission with like a limited power of attorney to list the property on the MLS. And once it's on the MLS, we're selling this to a retail buyer. So in wholesaling, we are selling the property to a cash buyer. When we are doing a novation with the seller's permission, we get it on the MLS. This person is going to use an FHA or a conventional loan to buy the property. And our
So
markup
really
is
the only difference between a pure wholesale and a novation is you are working with the seller to sell their property to a retail end buyer who's going to have conventional financing
correct.
versus wholesaling. You're selling it to an investor who's going to come in and fix it up, and then they're going to use unconventional lending.
That's
But
correct.
now, how do you, like, just for clarity for people, when you're wholesaling a property, you are not selling the property. You are not marketing the property legally.
No,
You
you're
can't,
selling the contract.
you are marketing the contract and the opportunity. Just so languaging, you don't get yourself in trouble. You cannot market and sell someone else's property. You can your own and market it without a real estate license. But when you wholesale, you make sure there's an assignment clause in the contract and you're upfront with the agent or the seller or whatever. Hey, I'm going to go and see if one of the investors in my community wants to really actually take on doing the work on this. So I'm going to just let them know that I've got this under contract. And hey, do you want to come in and finish the deal? Whereas a novation is, you have a contract with the seller. I've got this under contract. Now I'm going to market it on the MLS and sell it to a retail buyer who takes conventional lending. Now, explain to the audience how you can do that legally without having a real estate license.
With the seller's permission. Everything in real estate and life is disclose, disclose, disclose. So you got to have your ducks in a row like anything else. And as long as you do, there's no issue whatsoever. You can sell the property with a flat fee brokerage, a national brokerage, pay a couple $100. Anyone can do that. You don't need a real estate license to put this property on the market. You just need the seller's permission, fully documented permission, which is not difficult to get because this is a motivated seller and you are solving their problem.
Yeah, something that I love about what we're talking about here, Dave, is, and I coach people on this, is clients will say, well, what do I say to the agent, or what do I say to the buyer or the seller? And I'm like, just be transparent. Tell them what you're doing and why you're doing it. And, when I was working as a business coach for fortune builders back when they were more of an events coaching kind of training company, and now they're more of an online platform, but we would talk about that. They would say, hey, look, if you're going to get a really hefty wholesale fee, you might want to double close on the wholesale because it might piss off the seller or the buyer if you're going to make more than, say, 20K on a wholesale fee. Someone on either the seller or the buyer might not like that, so it might be worth double closing. There's a little more expense in that, but you never ever, as a real estate investor, have to hide or be shy or worry about what you're doing. The best thing to do is just be confident and forthright and transparent about what you're doing, because when you're a little I don't want to tell them. It just brings in an element of doubt, and people start to lack that they might not trust you. You want to have integrity, be very clear, because everything we're talking about is absolutely legal. You don't have anything to be ashamed about. Anything you want to say about that, Dave?
No, that's exactly it. You know, everybody's looking for like the magic script or the magic bullet or the magic bean stock or whatever it is. It's not. It's just being fully transparent, disclosing everything. If somebody doesn't want to work with you, then you move on to the next one, and that's it.
Yeah, you don't lament. The other thing is, talk about this a little bit, Dave. Don't try so hard to make everything a deal. Have standards and criteria. And if it's not meeting those standards and criteria, or there's someone that you don't want to work with, you just don't feel good about working with them, or it's a hassle, you don't need to turn yourself into a pretzel and force a deal or try to make something happen. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's just going to set you back. I mean, you know, if there's no equity in the deal and there's no cash flow, there's only a few ways to make money in real estate, right?
Yeah.
You know, basically collect a positive monthly cash flow or sell the property for a profit. And that's it. I mean, you're either renting something or, you know, you do a cash out refinance. But if you're going to pull cash
Unless
out,
you're on the financing side and then
well,
you're
no, I mean, but
money on
even
interest.
a cash out refinance, you had to buy that property with equity. There's got to be equity in the deal. If it's not a deal and the seller's not motivated, shake hands and part as friends as fast as you possibly can. Don't
Yes.
waste your time. That's the thing. Like we get 60 leads a week coming into this office. The vast majority of them are people who are like, well, you know, you called me. How much will you give me for it? What's it? You know, and it's like it's not a motivated seller. I'll sell
Next.
it if you, yeah, move on. Don't even waste your time. That's what I would say is like, if screen out the motivation immediately before they even house, before you even have an address, find out why the person's selling. If the person is just, oh, well, make me an offer. How much you give me for it? I'll sell it if you give me the right price. That's not a motivated seller. Move on. Don't waste your time with non-motivated people.
I'm putting this in the chat.
Yeah, it's just a complete waste of time.
So talk about a motivated seller.
Motivated seller is somebody who's got a problem that you can solve as an entrepreneur. You know, our job as entrepreneurs is to solve problems. We're problem solvers. So the main problem that sellers experience is they don't have the money to fix the house up. So
Well, there's those four motivators: time, condition, price, and you know, I always forget one of them.
I would say, you
How
know,
fast do you want to sell? Why do you want to sell? How much are you willing to sell, and why? And condition of the property.
if somebody needs to sell fast, that's great. And if somebody doesn't want to do the work, then we could be an ideal buyer for you. But that's it. Somebody who wants retail, and you know, you're just gonna have to move on from them as fast as humanly possible. That's what we train our people to do, and that's really what I think you know, bogs down a lot of newbie investors as they get all worked up working with non-motivated sellers. And if there's not a problem for you to
Trying to
solve,
get blood from a stone. Yeah.
yeah, it's like it just doesn't make any sense. And it's gonna kind of actually like probably, you know, frustrate the student. It's going to frustrate this new investor. Just move on. Don't be afraid to walk away. You know, just in fact, the faster you can walk away from a non-motivated seller, the better.
Yeah. And you'll master your craft by doing that, because when you get enough reps in, you
Absolutely.
don't get attached. The other
So,
thing is, if you become a good hunter, meaning marketing and sales and finding deals, you're never going to go hungry, and you don't get attached. If you miss a bunny rabbit or a squirrel, you just keep hunting. You don't get attached. You're like, oh, darn, I didn't get that one. Oh, well, not going to eat today. No, I'm a weirdo. I channel analogies. So I want to shift gears because we only have a few more minutes, and here's the gold we've led up to. You've been at this for 19 years. We've talked a lot about that. How did you get to do 1,000 deals, a mixture of wholesales, rehabs? And how did you amass a portfolio of 400 rentals? If you were gonna give people the secret formula, well, one, it happened over 19 years, but and you were gonna fast track one of your clients and say, here, if you want to do what I've done and shorten that learning curve to half the time, here's what I've refined it all down to so you can skip all the mistakes we made. What would that be that you would hand them? What formula?
I think the biggest thing to, instead of telling somebody what to do, I would tell them what not to do. And the number one thing not to do is take on giant rehabs.
I agree.
Just stay away from the construction thing. That it's
Reduce your risk.
100%, and always take care and pay back your private lenders. So when I went,
Don't make them chase after you. If a deal is going to take longer, be proactive, communicate, don't avoid. They will, communication is the key with lenders, because you're wanting to build a long-term relationship with them, so they'll want to keep lending.
Yep.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've never not paid a lender back, and I've never, not done exactly that. Maintain that relationship. I think private lenders and just maintain those relationships, constantly be raising money and constantly be generating leads. And that's it. And you don't even need to be good on the phone. Just be transparent and be authentic. And like I said, stay away from those big construction projects.
Be willing to do the reps, and do the numbers.
Take a quick nickel over a slow dime. Just keep moving. Just keep bringing in money. Make more money than you spend.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Dave, is there anything that you would like to share, pitch, promote, mention, that we haven't covered yet?
No, I mean, we have a real estate, we're real estate coaches. We have a solid community and whatnot. I would just say, if somebody's interested, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at the real Dave P, and I'm constantly on there talking about real estate. And most of the free content we put out is enough to actually help somebody make millions of dollars in real estate. We're pretty.
I love that when someone really successful doesn't then try to build a whole business around all the coaching and make a ton of money on people, because people get gouged in this industry. I've worked for companies and, seen people spending tens of thousands of dollars just trying to learn, and how they get taken advantage of, or they're paying way too much for it. And if you truly are super successful as a real estate investor, that's your way of paying it forward, is help.
Well, I will be upfront. Our coaching is very, it's got a high price tag. We're not a cheap date. It's over $10,000 to coach with us, but it's the real deal. It's not like those guys who did it back when.
No, but what you were saying is you give a lot of information away.
Oh yeah, we're out there. We're very much out in the public, and it's if you want to fast track, work with somebody who's doing it today, not somebody.
And actually, 10K is really not a high price tag.
It's not. It's. I mean,
when I worked at Fortune Builders, the low tier was 25K up to 50K, and sometimes students that would get oversold other things, the legal services and stuff, and some students were into it for 75, 80, 100K.
I know.
So 10K for a robust real estate investor coaching program is nothing.
Nothing. And it's to work with people who are doing it today. It's not like we used to do it and now we're trying to show you what we used to do. It's no, we open up our books, we'll show you our profit and loss statements from the last month and this month and what we're doing. And so it's not bogus. It's real.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Dave. If you were to jump up on a rooftop, feels like we've already been on the rooftop the whole conversation, but if you were to jump up on a rooftop You had a captive audience. They were hanging on your every word, hungry for the advice that could help them. What would your advice be?
I would say if I had one piece of advice, it probably wouldn't be necessarily a piece of real estate advice. It would just be more of a personal thing that you are enough, you are worthy, you do deserve abundance, you do deserve health and love and, you know, financial abundance. It is your birthright. And, you know, those limiting beliefs, it's not your fault. So pay attention to when you start to have those thoughts of, you know, regret or thoughts of jealousy or thoughts of, you know, anything like that is really just conditioning and programming. So my advice would just be know your worth, you know that you are enough. Focus on your self-worth, you know, and a great way to start building your self-worth is to commit to do one thing every day and just be consistent with it and start to trust yourself.
Or see an NLP mindset coach who can help you shift some of those limiting beliefs.
Unwind that programming, build trust in yourself. When you start to trust yourself, you start to like yourself. When you start to like yourself, you start to love yourself. And then you really start to deserve and know your worth. And that would be my number one piece of advice, is that you are enough. And
I love that.
The sooner you realize that, the better.
Love it. I want to just, Rula or Maria, would either of you like to ask Dave a question before we wrap up? Rula or Maria, you're going to have to unmute yourself or just write something in the chat. If you have a question, a comment, anything you'd like to ask Dave or comment about. Okay, so nothing there. All right. Well, I want to just thank you, Dave. God, this was awesome.
Yeah, I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good. And I'd like to stay connected with you, learn a little more just from as a coach. I'd like to learn a little more about your program and your team
Absolutely.
and all that. So maybe we could just have a chat off the air. All right, everybody. You know, please just gush some love towards Dave in the comments if you're watching live right now, or if you're watching the recording, please give some specific feedback to him, something specific that you got out of this that you'll take action on, or that was an aha for you, something very specific. Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate your time, you sharing your experience, very inspiring. All right, everybody, go out there, take action, no excuses, go get results. Bye. We'll send you the recording, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.